Democrats are decrying McConnell, Bitch McConnell's impeachment rules as a cover-up, which technically he's trying to cover up everything that 45 has done. 45's impeachment trial quickly burst into a partisan fight Tuesday as proceedings began unfolding at the Capitol. Democrats objected strongly to rules proposed by the Republican leader for compressed arguments in a speedy trial. Even before Chief Justice John Roberts gabbled in the session, Democrats warned that the rules package from 45's ally, Senate Majority Leader Bitch McConnell, could force midnight sessions that would keep most Americans in the dark. That would keep most Americans in the dark and create a sham proceeding. This is not a process for a fair trial. This is the process for a rigged trial. Representative Adam Schiff, a Democrat from California, said. He said, Bitch McConnell is trying to cover up every crime that 45 has done. Bitch McConnell opened the chamber promising a fair, even-handed process and warned that the Senate would stay in a session until his proposed rules package was adopted. The squatters' lawyers will finally receive a level playing field. The Kentucky Republican contrasting it with the House impeachment inquiry. The first test was coming midday as the senators prepared to begin debate and vote on McConnell's proposed rules. Republican senators who hold the majority are falling in line behind his plan. Sure, it will be a fair trial when you've got 24 hours of arguments on both sides, Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa told state reporters on a conference call. The rare impeachment trial unfolded in an election year is testing whether 45's actions toward Ukraine warrant removal at the same time that voters are forming their own verdict in the White House. 45 himself in Davos, Switzerland, for an economic conference, denounced the proceedings as a total hoax, which it's not, and said, I'm sure it's going to work out fine, but 45's presidency on the line, and the nation deeply divided. Just weeks before the first Democratic primary contest, 4 senators who were also presidential candidates will be off of the campaign trail, seated as jurors. The Democrats say the prospect of a middle-of-the-night proceedings without allowing new witnesses or even the voluminous House records of the trial will leave the public without crucial information about 45's political pressure campaign on Ukraine and the White House's obstruction of the House impeachment probe. The McConnell rules seem to be designed by 45 for 45, said the Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer. He vowed to call for a series of votes to amend the rules and demand testimony and documents, but it seemed unlikely that Republicans would break from the party to join the Democrats. This is a historic moment, Schumer said. The eyes of America are watching. Republican senators must rise to the occasion and do what they think is right. If the senators agree to McConnell's proposal for a speedy trial and acquittal, Schiff said it would not prove that the squatter is innocent. It would only prove that the Senate is guilty of working with the squatter to extract the truth from coming out. Representative Jerry Nadler, the Judiciary Committee chairman, who also leading the House team, said that there's no trial in this country where you wouldn't admit relative witnesses. Bitch McConnell had promised to set rules similar to the last impeachment trial that took place. The then President Bill Clinton in 1999, but his resolution diverged in key ways, and the night before the trial, he offered a compressed calendar as 45's lawyers argued for a swift rejection of the flimsy charges in a trial that never should have happened. All of this is a dangerous perversion of the Constitution that the Senate should swiftly and roundly condemn. The squatters' lawyers wrote in their first full fling Monday, the articles should be rejected and the squatter should immediately be acquitted. 45's legal team doesn't dispute 45's actions that he called the Ukraine president and asked for a few during a July 25th call. In fact, the lawyers included that the rough transcript of 45's conversation as part of its 110-page trial brief submitted ahead of the proceedings. Instead, the lawyers for the squatter, led by House counsel Pat Cipollini and a TV-famous legal team, including Ellen Domas Dershowitz, said that the 2 charges against the squatter don't amount to impeachable offenses and 45 committed no crime. 45 committed a crime, and the crime that he committed is impeachable. Legal scholars have long insisted the framers of the Constitution provided impeachment as a remedy for other high crimes and misdemeanors, a particularly broad definition that doesn't mean simply specific criminal acts. Democrats, in prosecuting the case against the squatter, point in particular to a General Accountability Office report that found out that the White House violated a federal law by stealing money to Ukraine that had been approved by Congress. The first several days of the trial are expected to be tangled in procedural motions playing out on the Senate floor, and behind closed doors, senators must refrain from speaking during the trial proceedings. Like 45, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will also be away for the proceedings, leading a bipartisan congressional delegation to Poland and Israel to commemorate the 75 years since the liberation of Auschwitz at the end of World War II. She issued a statement Tuesday denouncing that Mitch McConnell's proposed ground rules as a sham because of the compressed schedule and lack of guarantee that witnesses will be called or the evidence gathered by the White House would be admitted in the Senate trial. The Senate GOP leader has chosen a cover-up for the squatter rather than honor his oath to the Constitution, Pelosi said. Also Tuesday, the House Democratic managers overseeing the impeachment case asked Cipollini, the squatter's lead lawyer at the trial, to disclose any first-hand knowledge he has of the charges against 45. They said evidence gathered so far indicates that Cipollini is a marital witness to the allegations at hand. House Democrats impeached the Republican president last month on 2 charges: abuse of power by withholding U.S. military aid to Ukraine as he pressed the country to investigate Democratic rival Joe Biden, and obstruction of Congress by refusing to cooperate with the investigation. The Constitution gives the House the sole power to impeach a squatter, and the Senate the final verdict by convening as the impeachment court for a trial. The squatter late Monday named 8 House Republicans, some of his fiercest defenders, to a special team asked with rallying support behind the Senate chamber in the court of public opinion. 4 TV monitors were set up inside the Senate chamber to show testimony exhibits and potentially tweets or other social media sites, according to a person familiar with the matter but unauthorized to discuss it. On the record, House managers practiced their opening arguments well into the night. No squatter has ever been removed from office by the Senate. With its 53-47 Republican majority, the Senate is not expected to mount the 2/3 voted need for conviction. Even if it did, the White House team argues it would be an unconstitutional conviction because the articles on impeachment were too broad.